we are back to another video lecture, and this time it's about tourism system and tourism elements. So, we are still continuing the orientation or the introduction about the industry. Okay, so we'll start with learning about tourism system. It would be important if we will learn the definition of a tourism system. So here we see that tourism system is a group of interrelated, interdependent, and interacting elements that together form a single structure. So I guess if we look at the three highlighted and underlined words, you will see that there is just a nuance or a slight difference between the three. Because when we say interrelated, there we can see the connection, the interrelation of the parts of the system. Okay? And when we say interdependent, that means to say one part of the system will not work well or cannot work by itself, but it depends on the other members or on the other parts of the system for it to work well. And interacting, meaning to say that there is a not just a relationship, but they are reacting, that there's an action that happens between the elements, or between the stakeholders, or between the members of the system. And whether it's an interrelationship, or whether it's interdependency, or whether it's an interaction that happens within the system, the main purpose or the main reason is for it to form a single structure. Meaning to say, I think in another simple term, we can say that it's like a basketball game wherein everybody has, or every team members have a role to play, and so for them to win, and for it to be considered a basketball, there should be one team that is playing with another team, and as they play, the members of their team should be interacting, should be interrelating, and their actions are interdependent, because if only one will work and the others will just look at how that one works, it will never become a success. So, going back to the tourism system, the purpose of interrelationship, why there is an interdependence, and why they are interacting, is so that they can form a single structure, which is what we call the tourism ecosystem. Okay, so at this point, let's first take a look at how the tourism activity happens. For us to understand how it happens, okay, we have to look at the geographical elements of tourism. When we say geographical element, we are referring to the space that is involved in this tourism activity. This model was given to us by Laper in 1979, and this is called Laper's system model. So in this model, we see that there are two regions. On your left is known as the traveler generating region, or in other words, we can say that this is where the tourist is about to depart to a certain destination, or we can say it's a point of origin. And on the other hand, or on the other side, another region is the tourist destination region. Okay, so meaning this is where you're going, this is your destination. Maybe at this point you can still remember or recall how did we define a destination. So it doesn't matter where that destination is, but what matters is there are two spaces. First, the traveler generating region or the point of origin, and the other one is the tourist destination region or the destination. Now, we can see that the traveler generating region is the point of origin of the tourist. And the arrow above that says departing traveler, meaning that if we look back at the definition of tourism, we cannot say that that is tourism without any movement. That's why we said that travel is an important part of tourism. Without traveling or without movement, we cannot consider it a tourism activity because tourism is action. Okay? So there has to be an action of departing, meaning to say there has to be an action of leaving the place of the tourist and going to the destination region. Okay? Now, if we look at the arrow back, the arrow below, okay, the purple arrow, and it says returning traveler, it means that the tourist who went to a certain destination has to go back to where they have come from or to where the point of origin is. Why? Because if there's no coming back or if there's no return, then we cannot say that the activity is tourism. Because according to the definition, we said that they have to come back. And the maximum stay that they can do is 1 year. But they have to come back. Okay? So that's why for the system to happen, there has to be a movement from the point of origin to another point, which is the destination. And from the destination, there should be an activity of coming back to where did they start. And we call that the return. So departing and returning. Those are two important elements. Okay? Now, at the middle of the two arrows is what we call transit route region. What is this transit route region? This transit route region means that there is an in-between space during the action. Okay, there is an in-between space, meaning that along the way, going to the tourist destination region, there is a path that connects the point of origin to the destination. Now, what is the importance of that path? What is the importance of that route, okay, or that region to the performance or to the tourism activity? Because from a business perspective, we can look at some opportunities within the transit route region. Oh, what kind of business opportunities are we talking about here? Business opportunities can be a stopover in an airport that is in between, okay? And so if there's a stopover, meaning to say that there can be a possible airport activity of maybe buying merchandise, eating, or probably deciding to stay overnight in the transit route region. And so those are the business opportunities that we are talking about. Okay? So at this point, I just want you to understand the geographical elements. So we're looking at the space requirement or the space coverage of this tourism activity. All right? So if you have questions, let's talk about that during our online class. Okay, let's move to the next slide. All right. It's still the same. Okay. compared to Liper's systems model. However, this is something that has been updated by Weaver and Opperman sometime in 2000. And also, aside from it being updated, it became a little more complicated by the presence of, not probably complicated, I think I'd like to uh, take back my word for that, but instead, a complex environment for the tourism, for tourism. Why do I say complex environment? If you see here that in the travel generating region, which is the same as the previous model, there are departing travelers. There are already two departing travelers. And in the tourist destination regions, there are tourists arriving and staying. Okay, so how do we understand that? Now, to make it simple, let's take a look first at the traveler generating region. In this traveler generating region, we see that there are two departing travelers. Okay, travelers, we know that they are people on the move. They move. Okay, so travelers can be classified into two: departing travelers who are resident of the traveler generating region, or departing travelers who stop by at that region and is ready to depart and move to the final destination. If you remember, I previously said that within the transit route region is an opportunity to do a tourism activity. So, this traveler generating region, if we will imagine, can possibly the transit route. That's why we say that the departing travelers can be the resident of that place, or probably the traveler who made a stopover and who probably stayed overnight in that region. Okay? So, you see that there's also the transiting or the movement. There has to be movement. Otherwise, if there's no movement, again, this is not tourism. Because some people are coining the term virtual tourism. I don't think we can say virtual tourism, or we can accept the term virtual tourism, because the tourism's definition is there should be a movement. Okay, probably the term has to be changed to make it more appropriate. I would say activity, but tourism has to have a movement. Okay, so that's why there should be transiting, regardless of what transportation you will use, whether land, air, rail, or maybe water. There is the transiting, and then the route is there. Okay, and when you look at the tourist destination region, you see that there is the tourist arriving and staying. Arriving means that they were there. Okay, they were there because they have arrived, and staying means that they are doing, or they will be doing their tourism activity in the destination. Now, the additional part to this updated model is the inclusion of what we call broader environments. When we say broader environment, meaning that this tourism activity, okay, happens in an environment. Whether the environment is a micro environment, meaning to say it's a small, like maybe if we look at the domestic tourism, or a broader environment that involves international tourism. And when we say environment, we are referring to the other players, the other factors that makes up this what we call environment, such as, for example, physical. What is the physical? The physical can be considered the geographical layout, of the whole ecosystem. As I've said, the geographical region uh, can be within the country, like domestic tourism activity, or the geographical element would include several countries or several destinations. Then cultural means that the culture of the tourist that visits a destination and the culture of travel, how do they do traveling, and the culture of the host community interacts. Like remember the system, there is an interaction, interacts. And when they interact, two things can happen. It can either they can complement each other or they can complicate each other that can create conflict. And so we have to take a look at this one. Now, to give you an example, a specific example, I'd like to pick a country that is very conservative as an example, like the Middle East, okay, or countries where majority of its people are Muslim. Now, this is the scenario. Assuming that they offer a very white, sandy beach in their destination, and you, coming from your culture, enjoy swimming on the beach in the nature, and you also enjoy swimming wearing your swimwear. And when we say swimwear, that's basically a bathing suit, or for some people who are very courageous or daring, it can be a bathing suit that is two-piece. Now, one thing that will create conflict is in a Muslim culture, it's something that is unacceptable. So how do you reconcile that scenario wherein you want to go to the beach and enjoy it and be as natural as you are, where in fact you cannot go to the beach without having yourself fully covered because there is a culture that prevails within that destination. That's why there is a cultural environment. And we say social, as I've said, there is an interaction between people, between the travelers, and between the host community. And how do they react? Are they fond of welcoming, hosting the tourist, or is it the other way around? For the economic, is it something that benefits the country of destination, or is it something that grabs the local the opportunity to access resources? And so on and so forth. So we have technological and political. This is a very interesting environment to look at, because if there are benefits that we can get in having a tourism industry, there are also disadvantages, or I would say negative impact of tourism to either the environment or the people. So that's for another lesson. Okay? So you see now, I'm just showing you the system, how we work on it, how is the interdependence happening, the interaction, and the interrelating. Okay? So what are the elements of tourism? Meaning to say, what is the composition of the industry? The most important part, or the most important element, is the tourist. Without the tourist, we don't have a business. So the tourist is the actor in this system. And the tourism is a very human experience. When we say human experience, you don't go to a place only for picture taking. You do go to a place that was before. That was the old concept of tourism. That's the old tourism. But nowadays, people go places, go to certain destination because they would like to have the experience, like interacting with the locals, or maybe experiencing or being part of what the locals do. So they want to enjoy and they anticipate what you have promised, because sometimes they usually get the package because they have seen it in their social media site, or somebody told them that it's worth going there. So there is this certain anticipation, and that anticipation is something positive. You have convinced the tourists through your advertisement, through your posting, that they will definitely enjoy, and that it is something that they can remember. And remembering means positive memories, good experiences. So something that can keep in their mind, and something that they can probably share with other people through their storytelling. Okay, so that's why we say that tourism is a very human experience. It should be enjoyed, it is anticipated, and it is remembered. Why are we mentioning that? Because if we are part of this tourism system, if we represent a business, okay, that caters or that provides service to tourists, then these are the things that we have to remember, to give them an experience, to give them enjoyment, to meet their anticipation, and to make sure that it is something that they can remember, and that this remembering would result to storytelling to friends, and giving me positive impressions or commendation about the destination. Okay? So that's the first. The second is the traveler generating region, which we just talked about a while ago. So it is the generating market for tourism. I guess we knew this already. And it provides the push to stimulate and motivate the travel. So how do we do the movement, or how do we do pushing? So when we say pushing, it is the moving forward. Okay? Moving forward means that we usually are motivated to visit the destination. And where do we get this information? So the information that we get is actually from maybe local travel agencies, or probably from social media networking sites, where it entertains popping up advertisements, as what I've said. And this is also a place where they book and where they depart. So that's very easy to understand, the traveler generating region. And then another is the destination. Okay, so the destination is the sharp end of tourism. What is this idiomatic expression means, the sharp end? The sharp end means, I would say it's the reality of the destination. It is where the full impact of tourism is felt, and planning and management strategies are implemented. So, meaning that tourists are expecting or are anticipating what was promised to them, like what is contained on the package will be delivered, or maybe what they have seen from an advertisement in the website or in a brochure, that it's the same as the promotional item, and the reality that is about to be witnessed in the destination. Okay? And the destination region, if the generating is the push, the destination region is the pull. So it's considered the pull to visit destinations, energizing the whole tourism system and creating demand for travel in the generating region. Meaning to say, what attracts you to go to the place? Is it nature? Is it the culture? Is it the people? Is it the food? Is it their way of life? So these are the pull of the destination, the attractions, the things that it can offer so that people would visit the destination. Okay. And another thing that we've seen is the transit route region. As I've said, this transit route region is the space in between the generating region and the destination. So it represents the short period of travel to reach the destination and also the intermediate places visited en route. So, as I've said, this transit route region can be an opportunity for business. Like if that person will decide, not will decide, but if that person has to make a stopover because that's the ticket that he bought, then definitely he has to stay on the place. And probably while waiting for the boarding time, then that tourist has to fill his time. And filling his time would mean going around the duty free, okay, or probably relaxing, availing of the massage, or if they have a long time for stopover, or we can say a layover, then it's a good opportunity to probably market that destination, like what Incheon Airport is doing. They offer a free tour, like a minimum, I think, of 4 hours, and they give it free for the reason that they consider it a marketing material, that when people will see the place and see the beauty and the culture of Korea, then sometime in the future they will think back, or they will probably remember. That's why it's important that we remember the destination and plan to have a visit. This or that time it will be a longer visit. Okay? And what else do we have here? So, the tourism industry is described as a range of business and organizations involved in delivering the tourism product. So, we have tourism products and services. I just don't say it's a product because tourism industry is people oriented. Therefore, service is also the business of tourism. So, since it's made up of different businesses, one business that is represented by the industry is the transportation. I cannot contain all the modes of transportation. That's why I just chose one, which is the airline industry, which is also a subsector of the transportation industry. Then there's also the lodging, or what we call accommodation industry, wherein it offers the place to stay for tourists while they are on that destination. And this one is food and beverage, whether it be a coffee shop, a restaurant. And so these are businesses that benefits from the tourist. And the other one, the other business is the business that offers leisure, recreation, and other activities that gives the reason for people to visit the destination. So these are the businesses. Now, aside from these businesses, there are also organizations that make sure that the industry is managed and is controlled and regulated. Like if you see at the moment that the movement of people has been limited because of the virus issue, and there is an organization that takes care of that. It could be the National Tourism Organization in cooperation with the World Tourism Organization. And we're going to talk about this in the next slides. So that's about it. We have learned about the tourism systems and elements. So I hope that you were able to have a glimpse or a bird's eye view of how this industry operates and what are the elements of this activity, or what are the elements of tourism, what are the different businesses that are involved, that are interacting and interdependent and has a relationship with each other. So it cannot be a single action. It has to be a collaboration. It has to be a complete team play between the sectors, between the stakeholders of this industry. So I hope you learned something from this video lecture. And again, if you have questions, I'm looking forward to be answering that, whether in the comment form or in the classroom. So that's it, and have a good day. Thank you for watching and listening, watching my slides and listening to me. See you in class. Bye.